In the previous two chapters, we talked about the legislative branch, the House and the Senate, and how laws are made. In today's lesson, we'll be starting the executive branch and learning what the president does and what his responsibilities and powers are. We just got done talking about the legislative branch. Now we're going on to the executive branch. There's some important vocabulary words for this section. The first one is term. And a term is how long someone gets their job in government. So like a senator is 6 years, a representative is 2 years, a president is 4 years, Supreme Court judge is life. Another important word on here is budget. And a budget is a plan for your money. So it's a plan on how to spend your money, not to just blow it all on one thing, how much you're going to allot for each specific object. This one is treaty, and a treaty is a peace agreement. Cabinet is also important. Cabinet is not talking about like the ones behind me. A cabinet is a group of people who the president picks to help give him advice on situations, to be like his advisors, to be his crew. And then we'll go with this last one, resign. Resign means to give up a position. So the President of the United States is on the news almost every single day, especially now. With the election coming up, it is almost impossible to watch any channel and not see commercials for Joe Biden and Donald Trump. They're on the news all the time. They're known around the world. The President of the United States might be one of the most famous people in the entire world. Now, many people in America don't know who's in charge of China, or who is in charge of Mexico, or who is in charge of Russia, but almost everyone in the world knows who's in charge of the United States. And the reason why is the President of the United States has a huge amount of power and authority. The President can be doing multiple different things. He might be in Texas, speaking up someone who's running for office. You can see that a lot. Donald Trump does that frequently, where he goes to try to hype up people who he wants to support and help get reelected. They can be called to do, ceremonial things like throw out the first pitch at a baseball game or be at a brand new opening of a business. They can also be called for more serious things too. So the president's responsibilities are huge. They cover lots of different areas. Some of them really serious, some of them are a little bit more ceremonial. The president might be the most powerful person in the world, and he may have the hardest job in the world too. So if you think about it, no matter who the president is, the whole country is not going to like him. Right now, Donald Trump's approval rating is around 42%. So that means almost 60% of the country doesn't care for him. And by contrast, President Obama, his approval rating was like 58% at one point, which still means 40% of the country doesn't like him. And that changes throughout their presidency. If everything's going good, the president's approval rating goes up. If everything's not going good, his approval rating goes down, because he usually catches the blame. So when things are going good, the president's popular. When things aren't going good, he's usually the one who catches all the heat for it. Every 4 years, we have a new presidential election. And to run for president, there's a couple of requirements you have to meet. You have to be born a United States citizen. Now, typically that means being born within the United States, but there's a little bit of wiggle room for people who are born to like military parents stationed at a military base out of the country, and there's a couple of exceptions. You have to be over 35 years old, and you have to have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. The Constitution also said that the president's term should be 4 years, and the 22nd Amendment made it so you can only be president twice. So let's say that Donald Trump is to win this election. That will be his last time as president. He cannot be president again. And a lot of people were upset that Obama didn't run again. That's why he wasn't allowed to. You get 2 terms. Congress also decides the pay for the president. And this book's a little bit outdated, but the president's salary is about $400,000 per year. So not this $200,000, but it's $400,000 per year. And that's a lot of money. But if you look at how much somebody like LeBron James or some professional athletes are making, or professional musicians, they make way more than the president. So one thing to consider when you're thinking about how much the president makes is think about all the other perks he gets. He gets to live in the White House. He's got 130 rooms. He's got a professional chef. He's got professional doctors. He doesn't have to pay for gas because he gets chauffeured everywhere. So it's not just the $400,000. There's many perks that come along with the job. He also gets access to a place called Camp David, which is a vacation retreat. It's kind of like a secret hideout for the president to go when they need to get away from things and take a little bit of a break and chill. So we're going to go over some of the president's responsibilities. As chief executive, the president has the power to carry out the laws, and he has to pick people to help him run the government. So that's going to be picking different cabinet positions like Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury. It's also going to be picking people like the Supreme Court judges, like the one he just nominated, Amy Coney Barrett. The president also has to decide how to spend the government's money. Now, the government does not have an unlimited supply of money, and the president has to decide what he's going to spend money on. And oftentimes, if you want to give more money to something like education, you have to take money from something else. So there's lots of trade-offs the president has to make. Every year, he has to come up with a budget or a plan for more than $1 trillion worth of money. And that is an insane amount of money to be responsible for. The president is also the chief of state. And what that means is he meets with visitors from other countries. He gives important speeches on holidays, does all these ceremonial jobs, and he's basically like the face of the country. The president is also the chief diplomat. And diplomat means it's his responsibility to set our relations with foreign countries, to make peace with foreign countries, and to decide if there's actually times when peace is not the best option. So oftentimes, he'll pick people called ambassadors or diplomats to help him with his job, but it's the president's job to set up these relations with these foreign countries. The president is also the commander-in-chief, which means he is the head of the military. He's in charge of the armed forces. Now, he doesn't actually command the troops on the field. It's easier to think about him like if it was a football team. He wouldn't be the coach. He would probably be the team owner. So he's got to have a lot of influence, but he's not the one deciding how the game is played and deciding how each individual thing is. Now, the president does have a lot of influence, and he can decide certain aspects, but he's not calling every single little thing the military does. Usually the generals take care of that. The president is also chief lawmaker. So the president doesn't usually make new laws. He can do executive actions and executive orders, but the president's main responsibility when it comes to laws is to sign or veto them. He also has to give a speech every year called the State of the Union. And it's basically like he is summarizing how the year went for the country and saying what plans he has going forward for the next year. So the last main responsibility of the president, he is the party chief. And what that means is his job is to make sure that his party looks good. So right now, Donald Trump is a Republican. So what he wants to do is get more support behind other Republicans. He wants to do a good job so more Republicans can get elected. Obama did the same exact thing. His job was to get people hyped up about the Democrats and hopefully get more of his people to win the elections and keep their seats. So the more popular the president is, the easier this part of his job is. If you are a very popular guy, some people go in and when they vote, they just click Democrat or Republican. They don't vote for each individual person. And if you're a really popular president and people are just coming in voting on your party, a lot of people could get victories riding on your coattails. Okay, guys, so that's the end of the lesson we're going to do today. I need you guys to go into Google Classroom, go into Chapter 7, Lesson 1 worksheet.